Great day. First off, okay, so we have a special guest in the house, a very special friend, and yeah, it's the FitPod1. Thank you to everyone who has listened or watched our previous episodes. Today, however, is a special day. It's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to every man out there. I like to think of today's episode as a man cave, and that's why I thought to bring no one else but a medical practitioner, a medical doctor. Let's, let's have some good insights as regards to well-being and get some wisdom around how men should live their life. As let's just delve into it, see what we get to learn today. And yeah, our guest is none other than Dr. Olatokunbo Abiodun, and aka Tokes. So
Yeah.
I'm sure your couple friends know you as Stokes, but in the professional scene, you'll be known as Dr. Tokumbo. So, um,
Actually, in the professional scene, they call me Talks at work.
that's
Yeah,
nice. That's
yeah, they
interesting
call me
to know.
Talks at work. Yeah.
Okay, so let's break the ice. Let's get to know you. This is usually me introducing my guest, but today's just gonna be different. We have our guest in the house already, so let's just go in. So introduce
Yeah,
yourself and tell just a brief background as to how
yeah, yeah.
your
Thank you.
medical career started and all.
Hi to
Yeah.
your viewers, and thanks for having me. My name is Talks. I like to be called Talks anyway. I'm originally Nigerian. I was born in the UK many years ago. And My primary medical education was in Nigeria, and I moved back to the UK uh, over a decade ago. I actually met Trudy in Nigeria, in a city called Ilorin, and that's the compulsory
Yeah.
national service to the country,
Yeah.
which everyone that graduates from a Nigerian university has to go through. So that's where I met Trudy, and ever since it's just been friendship since then. Um, and I currently work as a consultant in acute medicine in the West Midlands of the UK. And it's a fulfilling role. The specialty is one of those specialties where you never know what you're going to see with your next patient in front of you, from emergencies to sort of stable patients and things like that. So it's just very interesting. It's a very interesting specialty. One minute the patient's fine, the next minute the patient's, you know, um, arresting, and you need to do CPR, stuff like that, or the patient's very unwell, poorly. So yeah, it's a very rewarding sort of specialty, especially when you make make up plans, management plans for your patients, and eventually the patients get to go home. I think from that point of view, it's a very rewarding specialty. So, in a nutshell, I think that's what I do, and that's yeah, my area.
Specialty. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that insight. However, today's discuss will be focused on men's health. It's just like I said,
Mm.
it's the man cave today. And happy Father's Day to you. Happy
Happy
Father's Day to
Father's Day to
myself.
you too, Chidi.
To myself.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we'll just go right into it. I've penciled a few questions I would be asking. And with your medical experience, you could just share a couple insights. Let's start with you first, however.
Mm.
Fatherhood and identity. So, how has becoming a father shaped your identity, both personally and professionally? Would you say you've
Yeah,
changed?
that's a tricky one. You never expect what's how your life changes as a father.
True.
You never, it just completely changes. You now have to prioritize other people. And I'm talking about your kids, obviously. You put them first, you put them before you, and your whole world changes. So they're now your primary sort of assignment. Everything just changes. Um, in terms of how it's changed me personally, I think fatherhood or being a father has sort of made me more mature. Because you need to be a role model to your kids. Your kids are looking up to you, and your kids are watching your every step, every move you make. And they always want that person that they can sort of look up to and say, okay, um, this person in my life um, has set standards for me. And these standards, um, the standards I would like to follow. Um, so from a personal perspective, I think having to constantly be a role model um, to some little human beings, um, it is it's tasking, but at the end of the day, I think it's rewarding. And my kids are still young, but at the end of the day, I think it's rewarding. From a professional point of view, um, again, it's that one's a bit tricky because I try um not to mix work and life at home. I try not to do that. But yeah, I don't know how to put it. From a professional point of view, how is it
Has
how's
it
being a
changed?
father changed me? Um, I'm not sure. It
Well,
has changed me. Um, you know, I think okay, let's put it this way, making um decisions about your career, I would say, um, it has changed me in that perspective because I had to put family first
so
and slow down my career and at some point in time put family first, make sure family is sorted and then now sort of go back to my career. So I think that way. So you always have to be willing to take that step back and put family in front. And whatever comes with it just comes with it. And you just have to accept it, I think.
totally. Sincerely, you have. I had a second question, but
Mm,
with what I've just heard you say, yeah, you pretty
mm.
much or answered that question. But I'll
Answer
just
that one.
ask.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just ask it. So you can probably um maybe put a little more. You pretty much put the right context. But the question
Mm,
was, what one lesson has fatherhood taught you that medical school didn't? So that's
mm, mm.
that's that's pretty much it. The fact that honestly, you wouldn't know. Nothing really prepares you for fatherhood as such.
No,
You
no,
wouldn't
I
really
agree.
know until you are wearing those shoes. And I
Yeah.
think you said it pretty okay. Um, Understanding that you have to just not let go of that dream or that
Mm,
objective, but
yeah.
understand that family comes first. The
Yeah.
kids ought
Absolutely.
to, yeah, kids ought to grow with you
Yeah.
within their space, so you just slow down your career a bit. Yeah, so that's a good response. So
Yeah.
um, so the questions will pretty much be in phases. So you've answered the fatherhood phase, and thank you
Okay.
for those responses. Thank you very much. So this will be
Yeah.
more about mental health and emotional wellness for men.
Mm,
Many men still struggle with expressing emotions.
yeah.
What advice would you give to fathers dealing with emotional stress and burnout
Okay. Um, stress.
from your
As
own
as
perspective? From
yeah. So as men, there's a lot of expectations that's put on us as men. And from an African perspective, sometimes it's like we're not allowed to show emotions, we're not allowed to cry. Now, I would say to every man out there, it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. Okay. And I think as men, um, it's just not part of us to feel vulnerable. Okay. Um, but it's okay to feel vulnerable, even if you find it difficult feeling vulnerable around your partner. There's always that my guy, one guy that you can
one friend.
talk to and say, I'm feeling this sort of way. My mood is low. This thing is going on in my life. I just wanted to talk to somebody. There's always that one person. And it's okay. You don't need to be a macho man all the time, because when your mental health crashes, trust me, it crashes for good.
Well,
It's very difficult to come back. And a lot of us just show that, things, responsibilities, and proper responsibilities at work, responsibilities at home,
um,
and we're just not, it's just the society is not really accepting of that man that wants to be vulnerable. But I would say, and I believe things are also changing. There's cry, you have what they call them, um although it's a whole, there's no men's mental health. I've not really seen much about, oh, um what they call them, this sort of associations where they're particularly catering for men's mental health. It's a
yes.
general sort of mental health thing. I think as a society, and we need to have these discussions a bit more. It's okay as a man to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to be stressed. And we have to have that one person that we can go and cry to, talk to, maybe partners, maybe family members, maybe someone at work you're close to. But you have to, I would say it's not safe to keep things in and try to, you know, be in control all the
All the
time.
time.
It's not going to end up well, especially for those men that are actively going through some sort of emotional stress, physical stress, mental stress. It could be anything, but it's okay to talk about it. And talking is the first step. It might be as far as, you need to get help for what's going on, but talking about it, we need to encourage each other as men, importantly, black men, because there's just that, um, you know, thing about men not being vulnerable, not being weak, or not showing weakness. But I think, we need to encourage each other and talk about it. More platforms like this talk about men's health, mental health to be in particular. It needs to be encouraged. I don't think we do enough justice to men's mental health, to be honest. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. I, for one, so I would ask a personal question. This is not
Mm,
in the script,
mm.
but I had to
Yeah,
pull this out of the hat.
interesting.
Is it possible to have a mental breakdown without knowing that it's coming from men? When you bottle all of these things up, is that what like
Yeah.
leads to stroke? Is that because I seem to
Say that. So repeat that question.
is
Sorry.
that what leads to stroke? Like when you have
Okay.
all, yeah, does that does that
Yeah. So
burnout lead to like major medical challenges or
yeah.
issues?
So stress in itself can lead to medical issues indirectly.
Okay.
So stress can make your blood pressure, you know, if you, for example, a hypertensive patient, can make your blood pressure worse, and potentially that in itself, constantly high blood pressure, so a patient that's worrying, stressed all the time, blood pressure not properly controlled, that can lead to a stroke. So there is an indirect sort of relationship, but not, I won't say directly, but an indirect relationship.
Relationship.
Um,
Okay.
and and to your initial question, which was you said, sorry, remind me again that
Uh,
question.
the non-expression of emotions. That
Yeah.
was, yeah. So the question was, do you advise fathers to be more expressive of their emotions?
Yeah, it has to be something that, like I said initially, the society is not sort of, nobody wants to see that man that's crying all the time. That, it's not it's not acceptable, especially in the African culture. It's a sort of a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
But I think, um, yeah, it needs to change. It just needs to change.
Okay.
You're allowed to show emotions. Bottling things up, um, over the long run, it's just, as a person, you're just going to combust. Um,
Implode.
and yeah, we just live in a society. You're in Canada, I'm in the UK. Um, you know, there's always something, um from a financial perspective, from a
True.
family perspective, from a job perspective. There's just always something.
There's always something.
um I understand that in some, relationships, you know all the sort of, I would say, bills, for example, can be equally split. So, um if you go back to the sort of Nigerian setup where the man's doing everything,
Yeah.
paying all the bills, school fees, all the bills in the house, and in the Western world now, bills can be split, but there's just something about the man who is, supposed to be providing security that comes with his own stress, and needs, providing protection that comes with its own stress. And then, the workplace in itself, some people are dealing with unfriendly sort of, work environments, and that would add to stress, that would add to emotional sort of mental health. It's just, my message, to your listeners is, one, as a man, it's okay to feel, um, that a lot is going on, but there needs to be that person to unbottle everything, discuss, talk to. Don't keep everything in. You always have to have that one person you can go to and talk to. And then, if you feel like it's becoming, you know, a big issue, then it's okay to ask for mental health support. But I don't think we should. I think the message needs to be put out there more for men to be vulnerable and discuss stress, different things, that are causing stress in everyone's lives.
Thanks for sharing that. Talks, just a follow-up question. So, how can dads recognize early signs of a mental health challenge?
Okay, so, generally you look at, you know, and we're saying dad, so even if it's a single dad, or if it's a family unit, and it depends on the type of stress, but the things that usually happen, and I will talk about low mood, is, one is you just stop enjoying things that you used to enjoy before, um, in life in general. You just, so it's taking its toll, but because some people use other things going on, so busy lifestyle, and that's used as a cover up, so you don't really know that it's eating on you, so you stop enjoying the things that you used to enjoy before. um you find out that your relationship with your partner or your kids, is not as good as what it used to be. um Maybe you get home, and you don't really want to talk. You just want to, you know, some people use alcohol and alcohol will only last for a few, but some people use alcohol to mask everything going on. When you get home, you want to sleep, and you're just not, you just realize that you're withdrawing from things, activities, playing with your kids, engaging with your wife, even sex. You just realize that, you're not even interested in that anymore. And it just creeps up and creeps up and creeps up on you till you realize, oh, now my mood is low. So you will know that something is not right somewhere, you know. But it's recognizing these signs early. And I always say to people, when there is stress, you need to recognize that there is a stressful life event going on, and you need to think about something to either neutralize or diffuse that stress in your life. And it might not be a complete neutralization, but it needs to be diffused, because if not, it's going to end up in combustion. Yeah. So,
Yes.
when once you notice there's some stressful events, if you like to go out, if you like to, I don't know, party, if you like to meet friends, if you like to travel, if you like to watch movies, just make sure that there is something that sort of, you're enjoying, that would make you sort of think less of that stressful event. And whatever the stressful event is, you need to tackle it head on, because some issues can be dealt with. It needs to be tackled head on, but it's, you know, recognizing that, something is wrong somewhere. My mood is not what it used to be. My mood is low. And accepting that, oh, my mood is low. And as men, as black men, go, oh, no, I can't be depressed. What's depression? No, it's not me. It can never be me, that sort of thing. But you need to understand that, yeah, there is an entity called depression, and it can take hold of you and actually finish you off if if you're not taking control of the situation. So yeah, you, as a man, you will know that there's something in your life that is not right. And it's looking for how to, like I said, either you neutralize it or you tackle the issue head on before it just takes its toll. Yeah.
Way you share your insights have been very, very good. I for one,
Mm,
I didn't think so. There are a couple of things that I used to enjoy like way back that I
mm,
honestly don't just think about. And I remember a
mhm,
friend had mentioned that just to distress, he decided to buy himself a console,
mm,
gaming console,
yeah.
but doesn't get around to playing.
Mm,
So some mornings he just wakes up, stares at the console, and there's something that just overtakes that thought. So now that you've mentioned this, I think I'll give him a call. Find
yeah.
some time. You bought the console to have fun with it, so just
Absolutely.
look
Absolutely.
at
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. So another question would be, how can partners support fathers going through a rough time emotionally? First of how thanks for sharing. So now, if any partner stumbles on or watches this podcast and they see those traits you had mentioned, they can
Mm,
now understand. Okay, so my spouse is going through a tough time.
yeah.
So how can they step in and offer some support? What do you have suggestions that you could share?
So you're talking about partners
The
now.
wives now, yeah, the wives.
Mm,
How
okay.
can they support their husbands through maybe a rough patch, an
Yeah.
emotional
So just
breakdown?
for your viewers that are single, so they don't get upset, so they don't get upset. So
Yeah.
the single moms and the single dads. But in general, I think communication. for a man going through some sort of stress or stressful event, um, and eh, I'll speak more from an African perspective. Um, Men do not like to voice out their thoughts. They don't like to um,
Can I
talk. They don't like to
perhaps,
be vulnerable.
is it possible because they might be judged? Because,
Yeah, and that's if
yeah,
the society is not accepting of the weak man, you know, and so you keep everything inside. So from I would say, a unit, so uh, husband wife sort of point of view,
yeah,
um, there needs to be communication. And sometimes when you realize that your so as a wife, for example, your partner is not doesn't want to communicate, um, is just not enjoying, things are different between you guys, then you have to stylishly, support that person to be able to either voice out or create an environment where that person can enjoy. So, for example, someone that likes to play video games, for example, and you just know he's not touched the console for like 3 months. Oh, what's going on? All of a sudden, you offer to play a game with the person, and it's just from there. Because men, the way we work is just a switch. You switch off, and in the right moment, it just switch on. And there the conversation can start. You can start discussing, oh, okay. Oh, and notice you've not been yourself lately. When you're ready, there is no need to put pressure on a man to talk. When you're ready, and it'll be nice to know what's going on. And you eventually the person, if there's good communication, the person will come out and say, this and this. It could be a work related thing, it could be a financial thing. The person will come out and say, but it's as a partner, and I'm speaking to the woman now, you have to create that environment that your partner is open to come out and won't feel judged. And it's just that environment they have. Men, we have to feel like we're safe, and that we can now express our emotions to you. But if it's a difficult partner, and it feels like, oh, if I tell my partner that, you know my 5 containers on the high sea have crashed, and he's having palpitations, and he's having, and there is no money to put bread on the table. How is she going to look at me? How are things going to be? Then he's not going to come out and tell you anything, because he's just going to see that woman that's, going to judging, sorry, for one thing or the other. So again, it's just creating that environment, that makes the man feel supported, comfortable to now be able to, because most of the thing, there's this thing in psychiatry, it's called cognitive behavioral therapy. And a lot of it is, talking, changing the mindset about certain situations, a lot of it. So the point I'm trying to make is communication is huge when it comes to, and I said it initially when we started, I thought, the show. The communication is huge. It just communication. Once people start talking, then there is like a burden that's sort of lifted off and he can now take it from there. So back to your question, I think partners need to create that environment, not put the men under pressure. Oh, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? You need to talk. You need to talk. But give them time to be able to come out and then now start to express themselves. And then you can now figure out how best to help that man who is going through some sort of stress and who is finding it difficult to communicate that stress to you. So that's what I would say.
beautiful. That's a really good place to live it. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
sharing that insight. And okay, so the next phase would be more about physical health and self care.
Mm,
Uh, um, So I'm going to therapy. Would that be? This is a personal question.
Mhm.
Do you support men to do therapy with their partners or their wives? Just
Say that again, sorry.
do you would you suggest therapy sessions for men? Just
Mm,
going. So I worked with an organization that the therapy is just a phone call, a dial away, and
mm,
you're expected to just, if you feel the need to, take some time off work and dial the
mm.
therapy and just talk.
Yeah.
How so for black men? That's for me was a new experience. It's totally a new
No, it's a
experience.
big deal for black men. It's a big deal. And that's what I'm saying. But listen, let's go back. What do you do in therapy?
Just talk.
What do you do in therapy? You talk,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah.
talk. So if there is that one person who is not a therapist, you know, but you can talk to, unburden everything, discuss everything, and feel lighter in your mind, why not do that? But I know that for black men, it's going to therapy is like, this, it's just like it's just
If
alien to us,
it is,
you
it
know.
is. It was alien to
But
me. It was
people,
a
yeah, and we don't like to talk much, and then you sitting in front of someone, and then sort of they and again we don't like to feel judged, so that you feel like that you're being judged, but I would say if anyone is in that sort of situation where there is no one to talk to, obviously therapy is very welcome. I would suggest for people that hit, you know, yeah, whatever situation is hitting rocks. So then, if therapy is going to save you, then go for it. But yeah, people need to accept therapy more and more. And I'm saying, um, the African sort of, yeah, because I know that in recent time there's been a lot of migration to Canada and to the UK. And for example, the migration, an African couple moving to the West and having sort of lots of issues to deal with. And there's lots of people in that sort of situation where, they've moved and they're struggling with many things. And one partner, it could be the man, it could be the woman, one partner is depressed and stuff like that, or the relationship is not as nice anymore because, lots of stuff going on. Therapy, yeah. If there is because if in Nigeria, for example, there will be that one person, that auntie or that uncle that you can call and say, uh, in the West, maybe not. And usually there's still, uh, pastors, and the church now takes up this role of being, trying to support relationships and stuff like that. But therapy is very welcome. I would say it's very welcome if that's what you need, then go for it. Don't feel like um it's alien to you or to us, and then it's not, because that could just be the saving, what's going to save whatever situation you're in, save you from whatever situation you're in. So yeah, absolutely.
great. Thank you very much. Now, question: between work, family, and other commitments, how can fathers prioritize their physical health?
So again, physical health, and I think people need to realize this. So as fathers, and I'm saying the sort of typical, because I know that sometimes it could be challenged that men are not the only breadwinners now. There are women that are also breadwinners and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, let's talk about the stereotypical sort of or typical situation. Um, and the father is, providing, putting all sorts of stress, going through everything. But what people should realize is, if your physical health is not well looked after, the other aspects of life will suffer. So your physical health needs to be cared for, catered for, and needs to be prioritized. And because if you're not well, you can't work. Even if you're not a 9 to 5er, even if you're a businessman, if you're not well, you can't make business decisions. You can't. So physical health absolutely needs to uh, be prioritized. I work out, and I know you work out too because I see your videos. And yeah, I would encourage people to take, um, take even if it's just 20 minutes of walking, pacing about in your house every morning. It's something. But I realize that when I work out in the morning and when I go to work after, um, my brain is very fresh. I'm able to make decisions faster, easily, you know. And for me, I just said, apart from the other benefits, looking good, having a nice physique and everything, but just the physical health, it's very important watching what we eat. And we know that nice things are not the most healthy of things. In this day and age where there's a lot of cancer in the young, it's alarming actually because um, almost every day at work, I diagnose cancer. Um, and whilst I've not put in any sort of data or statistics, but there is one 40-year-old, 45-year-old with one cancer or the other. So in the past, it used to be cancer in the elderly, the older people. Now you're having more cases of cancer in younger people. Um, Having that one blood test, so in the UK, I'll talk if there are any viewers that are here in the UK, having that one sort of test every 4 months, blood test just to check and make sure everything's fine. I would recommend that. I don't know how the system works in Canada with your family sort of physician, but just booking just one blood test once in 6 months, checking your bloods, um, it's very important because yeah, things have changed. The dynamics, everything has changed in the world. And, back to physical health is just something that we need to sort of put in front and prioritize and know that you're only able to provide, protect as a man when your physical health is good. Um, yeah, yeah.
Question to that. What are some simple but effective daily habits that can adopt to improve their well-being? I know you talked about working. It's something that it was pretty much a culture shock for me when I got here in Canada. So
Mm,
there are sections of where different communities where there are hiking paths where you could just take a walk, have
mm,
your moment. I have a friend who calls those periods his doctor time. I mean, he's not going to see any doctor. It's just him. It's just that he's self-aware that he needs a few moments, a few minutes in the morning, an hour to just put things into perspective. So he goes for a walk. Sometimes he goes for a run. Sometimes he's at the gym. So over the years, it's helped make him a more better person.
mm.
He's able to take great decisions, like you pointed out. So, what routines? I mean, it's easier for those of us in the West, but just globally, what simple routines would you say dad can adopt that would just help give him some level of
Well, it
well-being?
depends on the people with hobbies, different hobbies. I would say number one is working out. That in the morning, if you're able to work out, you know, I understand not all of us are able to do that, but that's a good thing. In terms of physical health, what I do, um, me is I like to travel. And there's always and I know you said simple, it might not be simple, but traveling is just one of those things. Um, and what I do is I have a group of friends and we just say, okay, we're going to this place, we're going at this time. And after sort of several weeks and months of work, you just need that time to yourself. So I take time to myself, um, and I just go away, and I come back refreshed, and I come back and I'm able to, you know, um, support my family more, and have a better relationship with my spouse. Um, it, different people with different things. It's difficult to say in different environments because, but to be honest, you don't even need much to work out. You don't need to go. Now we're having those videos on the internet that are popping up everywhere where people just sit in their rooms and they do some leg exercise, they do some arm exercise, they do stuff. So you don't actually need to go to the gym to work out. But for me, what's worked for me, those two things, working out, it helps me mentally. Um, and then when obviously work, home, everything is piling up, and I just need to sort of detach. I just take, I tell the wife, I'm going on a break. I need to travel because I like to travel. So I just go somewhere and come back. I also play video games. I play video games with my daughter, and sometimes I use that to distress. And then I do I watch a lot of TV shows, series that can that can suck you in for several hours and just make you not think about anything. So you can, if they're nice TV shows. So you have to, as guys, I think people need to find out what sort of works for them. Um, but I know that work can have a physical toll on the body, and the physical, the mental, everything's connected. It's a triad. It's all connected. Yeah, I think it's physical, mental, spiritual, true. But yeah, it's all connected. So yeah, physical health. People need to sort of figure out what works for them. Yeah, well, for me, that's what I do. And I like to go out as well. I just like life. I like to enjoy life. So I like to go out.
This takes us to your previous statement. What's your take on health screenings for dads, for
Mm,
men? What should fathers be
yeah.
checking regularly by the age of 30, 40, and 50?
Okay. So at 30, I'm not sure what you need to be checking at 30, to be honest. Um, maybe if we had known, if we'd known earlier,
Yeah.
maybe at 30 would have been leading healthier lifestyles. Um, but it's good to just go for that checkup. That once, you know, check up your blood
Yeah.
pressure, your blood sugar,
And
and
this
your
are this
eyes.
all of this are 30, right?
Yeah, it can,
Yeah.
yeah. At 30, it can hit you at different, the thing is, usually if you're becoming hypertensive at 30, then there is something we call secondary hypertension, uh, more than likely related to that. Um, so yeah, your blood sugar, in my 30s, um, I think I wasn't just looking after myself. And then when I went for blood tests, my GP told me that you need to be careful, mate. You need to be careful because you're just getting on that cusp of, being. And I've got a family history of diabetes, so and this was in my 30s, so it's something sort of to look out for. So it's just that one test, if it's once in 6 months, just go for it. Your blood sugar check, blood pressure check, your eyes, stuff like that. In the 40s, things change because the body's laughing, the body's aging. And so those things you now need to take more seriously. So your blood pressures, your eyes, your blood sugars, and you need to look out for certain things as well, symptoms. You need to ask men, you need to ask your parents what the medical history is. Dad, do you have this? Is there a history of cancer in our family? Is there, so that when you start to have those weird symptoms, like for example, you're having blood in your stool, or um you are, you know, something just unusual. Yeah, you have the knowledge of your medical, sort of your medical history, your family's medical history, or maybe your dad became hypertensive when in his 40s, or there was a heart problem in your family. Maybe one of your distant uncles had a heart attack in the 40s. Those things are actually very, very important, so that you can now use them to understand how or what test you need to do when you start feeling weird and you need to report yourself to the doctor. Now, with regards to, and I'm just going to say this, with regards to um, the African community, we tend to ignore symptoms, and that's what's different and what I see from the Caucasian and other sort of ethnic groups. We tend to ignore symptoms. We say, oh, it's not serious. We need to go and do that shift. That shift is more important than the symptoms I'm getting. And then all of a sudden, things come crashing. So the symptoms you've been getting for 6 months, when you have symptoms, it's basically your body telling you that something is wrong. You need to go have it checked out. So you ignore them, and then, things now pop up. So I think people should not ignore symptoms in your 40s, most especially. In your 50s, that's when things like your prostate become important. Um, you need to keep looking out for symptoms as well. How you pass urine, are you struggling to pass urine? Is the flow of urine sort of different? It's just different. It's a very wide sort of topic to discuss. But in a nutshell, what I'm going to say is, do not ignore your symptoms. If you're having any symptoms, headache, do not ignore anything at all. You're losing weight, do not ignore. I know there's a trend now, people are, losing weight, but if you if you're not trying to lose weight and then you're losing weight, you feel better because you're losing weight, rather than putting, recognizing that this is a red flag and this needs to be reported. And you know, so it's difficult to say, yeah, 30s, 40s, 50s, because in your 30s, you can get something. In your 40s, you can not get anything. Your 50s, yeah. What I would say is, do not ignore symptoms. Take your symptoms, go and see the doctor rather than go and take up that shift, that extra shift. Go and see your doctor. Do not ignore symptoms.
So now switch things to the work-life balance and
Mm,
boundaries. What strategies have you found helpful for setting boundaries between your professional life and your family
right. I never take work home.
life?
I never. I never take work home. Once I leave the hospital, that's it for me. I set that boundary. It's always there. I don't take work home. Um, Sometimes work follows you home,
Yeah, this, yeah.
even when you are.
It's said. I believe it was even it's in the Bible. Men find
Mm,
fulfillment from their work. So sometimes
hmm.
there's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's in the Bible. Um, but I try as much as possible to make sure home time is home time, work time is work time. Um, and I always put family first. I always make sure that I put family first. So boundaries, I've set the boundaries. Um, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the boundaries are set there. I don't. I try as much as possible, except there's an emergency. Um, you know, emergency phone call that needs to, that you need to take when you're on call. Then that you can't do anything about. But otherwise, I don't take work home. It's just very good to leave work where it is, and when you come home, you just, focus on family. Because um the nature of our job, or the nature of, the job, the medical sort of job, it can follow you everywhere,
Everywhere.
and it can take hold of your life. Yeah. If you're not careful, that becomes your life, and your family actually takes the back seats, and your professional life now becomes your life, your wife and your kids. Your job becomes your wife and your kids. So it's always good to, that boundary just has to be set. And so I don't take work home. I just leave it where it is. And yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. And so this question I will tweak a little. What advice would you give to your, I mean, it's for new dads who
Oh,
are struggling
okay.
to balance their and career ambition with being present at home. But I would tweak it a bit to what advice would you have given yourself when you had just had your kids, or when you had perhaps started your career
Yeah.
as a medical
So
doctor?
so
So let's
I
do it this way. Let's take it in three parts. So when
mm,
what in hindsight, what advice would you have given yourself when you started practice? Phase one, you were
mhm.
married. You phase two, you got married. Phase three, you're now dad. So how would you?
Yeah. So when I started practicing,
You're probably taking walk
I,
home.
I was taking work home.
Yeah.
I had targets. I was like, because I finished medical school, I think when I was 23, 24, and there were targets there. Or by 30, I have to have done this. By 35, I have to have done this.
You set those targets, man.
I set those, yeah, yeah, yeah. I set those targets for myself. I set those targets. But I can be unfair to myself sometimes. So I set those targets. Some of those targets I met, some I did not meet. And I think sometimes, like, just like your question, life is in phases, and you have to take each phase as it comes, and not just overwhelm yourself. Because, I'll be honest with you, when I turned 40, I wasn't going to celebrate my 40th birthday.
Wow.
You know why? Part of the reason was the pressure I put myself under, and I felt like, even though from another perspective I was doing okay, but I didn't feel I'd met some targets. And so I just said, you know what? I'm just gonna have a chilled 40th. I'm not, because, it could have been, oh, big one, but it was just, we just had something. The wife was like, "Oh, why are you not celebrating? It's your 40th. You've done this. You've done that." But I was like, I don't feel like I'm where I need to be. So it was just low key, and I didn't do. But funny enough, those things I wanted, they came later. So I'm like, why did I beat myself so hard?
Yeah.
Because, those things I want, they're just coming. It's just a matter of time. So back to your question. Um, so when I started practicing, yeah, I think, yeah, I put myself under a lot of pressure. And then when I got married, there was still that pressure. And it was a bit difficult because, being on the nature of the job I had at the time, being married, having a kid, it was difficult to manage. I have to be honest. Putting everything together was a bit difficult. But we learn as we grow.
Mhm.
Um, and looking back, who knows? Maybe I should have quit the job. I don't know. And because my career was, I was like, oh, my career is everything, and because I was putting my career, I think I did, and I have to be honest to myself, put my career before my family. And sometimes you can be selfish, but when it's taken its toll, then you have to sit back and look, what am
Yeah.
I doing wrong here? So then, I did that, and regrettably, now I know that it's family first and then career comes next. So I did that, and I struggled. I struggled to manage things, to put things together. Um, and then the last phase, which sorry, remind me what the last phase again is again.
No, you pretty much have answered the question. So we had
Mm.
moved. So we moved things around. Phase one, you're single. Phase two, you had just gotten
Yeah,
married, and the
yeah,
final phase was you being married with kids and how
yeah,
you
yeah,
balanced everything.
yeah.
So, thanks for you did well. So now we're bringing it home, like they'll
Mm,
typically say. So, legacy, leadership, and raising kids. As a dad and a doctor, what values do you believe are most important to pass on to the next generation of men?
mm. That's a serious question. Advice to the next generation of men.
Well, not what as a father you would pass to the next generation of men.
What
What
can
would,
fathers
in
pass?
in hindsight, let me. So for me, I would. I mean, I'm not a medical doctor, I know, but from hindsight, I just as you've put it previously. So growing up, I honestly didn't think I wasn't looking at the fact that life would come in stages or phases.
Hmm.
I just all felt it would be, it's just this whole big phase and everything just
Mm,
happens. But
yeah.
as I grew older, I understood that, okay, there are different phases. And yeah, those phases will test you differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So um, this is from my own personal experience. It's how to get the younger boys, the younger guys, and
Mm,
it's just to let them understand that your own time will come.
hmm. Yeah.
Your own time will come, and you can be where you are right now and not be seeing um,
Mm,
the end goal. You know, I would say
yeah.
typically light is at the end of the tunnel. You probably at most times won't see that light, but just keep going, keep pushing. I think that
Hmm.
also I learned while when I started working out on a more routine um, basis because
Yeah.
I understood. I started understanding that some days are harder than some, but just survive that
Yeah.
day,
Hmm.
and you get your day. So, yeah.
Mm.
So, from a medical perspective, what would you say would be that one thing that you would have told yourself, your younger self?
Yeah. Um,
If
I
okay, let's
think,
if you didn't have to be a medical doctor, say if you were going to be an
yeah,
engineer, what experience
yeah.
or what has life taught you that if you were younger you would take more seriously? But yeah, I also let me add leave life as well. I think we always don't. So I like to think that I lived life. Uh,
Mm,
I made mistakes
hmm.
in life. You make mistakes, so that as well.
Yeah.
We shouldn't
Yeah.
tell the younger generation not to make mistakes. It's
Hmm.
how to, well,
How to come back from those mistakes, I
yeah, how
think.
to come back from those mistakes. Yeah,
Mm,
how to come back
yeah.
from those mistakes. You will make mistakes.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself too hard at the fact that you made a
Yeah.
mistake. You're learning at life as well. You're learning
Hmm.
as you grow. So I mean
I
from,
think,
yeah.
I think,
Let's hear you. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, for my own message would be it's funny because things have changed now. Um, back then it used to be study, work hard, and you'll be comfortable. You'll be able to sort of afford what you want and everything. Um, but with the advent of the internet and social media,
And AI, man.
social media, you're having 17-year-olds who are actually millionaires now. So, you know, it's difficult to advise this younger generation. Because what do you want to say? But I think in general, I would say be adventurous. I would say be adventurous, and don't be scared to make, as long as they're not life-changing mistakes, don't be scared to make mistakes. But you have to remain strong and resilient, because resilience is what makes men great. After all those mistakes, financial errors, and stuff like that, the resilience, the fact that you want to keep going, remain strong, is what makes those people stand out. And you might, well, to my younger self, um, what could I have done? I don't know, because um, I did everything that I was asked to do then in terms of study. You do this, you do that, study hard. That so I don't know what I would have done differently um in terms of my younger self, apart from not putting a lot of pressure on myself and wanting to achieve. We're high achievers by, from our roots, and we tend to be high achievers, but I think not putting a lot of pressure on myself is what I would have probably done differently, you know, because pressure can take its toll. But to the new generation, to be honest, I don't know, because things have changed. Yeah, things have changed.
Still
These
honestly
guys
changing.
are just, they're doing all sorts, and the money that we struggle to make, they're making it in like a blink of an eye. And at the end of the day, financial success is what the society looks at, you know. Um, but I think the main thing is making sure that you have value, add value to yourself as a man. Make sure you keep adding value to yourself. Um, and accountability is important. Um, be very accountable for your actions and add value to yourself. Yeah.
Uh, Question, last question, pretty much.
Yeah.
How can fathers model healthy masculinity in their son?
Yeah, I think
Help, healthy
it's
keyword.
yeah, it's it's sad, because you see a lot of things that are happening in our society now, and you just have to look back at how um these grown men were raised. Yeah. Um I think um showing your kids, male, female, um how you treat their mother is a very, very important part of that healthy masculinity. Um, because this is what men will carry on to go on into the world to sort of, yeah. I think that's the number one. Um, the relationship with your spouse, your partner, it doesn't have to be your wife, any woman you're with that you have a child with, um, that child or that male child seeing the way you treat the mother is really important. Because yeah, that's and to be honest, I think that for me, that will be the ultimate thing to say. Also, um, passing it on to the kids that it's okay to talk about how you feel. Even as a man, it's okay to cry. Talk about how you feel. Rather than go in the, you know, um, one 16-year-old gets his heart broken and then goes around to kill the girl that breaks his heart. You know, no, it's okay. Um, to talk about how you feel. And yeah, I think those are the things that come to mind for now. Yeah,
Thank you very much. This was a very,
yeah,
very interesting session.
yeah. It
Um,
was yeah. It got me. It took me to my ends.
which
Yeah,
is what we always look forward to. Big, big,
yeah.
big shout out. Just before I let you go, I always do this whole five-a-side question. You
Okay.
work out. Which is your preference, cardio or weightlifting?
Weightlifting.
Oh, great. And so I know you work out at home.
Mm.
Preference, gym workout, home workout, or maybe a circuit workout with the bodies. Which would be your
It's just convenient at home, to be honest. It's just I've got my gym at home. It's just
great,
convenient. I just work
great.
out at home. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Big, big, big thank you, Dr.
It's been a
Folks,
pleasure.
for
Yeah,
sharing such valuable advice. Real talk, real talk.
yeah,
Remember, being a great dad isn't just about providing, it's about striving.
yeah.
To all the amazing fathers, father figures out there, we see you all doing all this great work. We encourage you to prioritize your health as well. And
Hmm.
if you love this episode, please don't forget to follow, like, share, tag us at the Feed Podcast, at
Follow, like, share,
FitPod1
guys.
on Instagram. Until next time, stay fit, stay focused, and keep dancing through life. Happy Father's Day, man.
Happy
Thank
Father's
you.
Day to you
Thank
too,
you
man.
so much. All right.
Thanks for having me, Chidi.
Thank you for
All right,
coming through, man. Thank you so much. I really
all right,
enjoyed today's session. All right, man.
all right. Cheers.
Yeah,
Yeah, bye
cheers,
for
man.
now.
Yeah,
Bye.
take care, man.